September 13th, 1848. Cavendish, Vermont. The air is thick with the smell of black powder and the dry dust of broken rock. It is high noon, the sun beating down on the backs of the railroad gang, cutting a path through the stubborn Vermont slate. Phineas Gage stands at the center of the activity, a man in his prime at 25 years old. He is the foreman, the most efficient and capable man on the line, a favorite among his contractors. He is a man of precision in a world of brute force. In his hands he holds a custom-made tamping iron, a crowbar, essentially, but elegant in its deadliness. It is 3 feet 7 inches long, weighing exactly 13¼ pounds. It feels like an extension of his own arm, a tool of trade that is about to become an instrument of history. The process is a delicate, dangerous dance that Gage has performed 1,000 times. Drill the hole, pour the powder, insert the fuse, cover with sand, tamp it down. It is a rhythm, a heartbeat of industrial progress. Thud, thud, thud. The iron bar packs the sand, compressing the explosive charge below. But today, the rhythm falters, just for a microsecond. We zoom in on the distraction. It is trivial, almost insulting in its insignificance. Behind him, his men are loading rock. A voice calls out, maybe a joke, maybe a question about the next shift. It doesn't matter what was said. What matters is that Phineas turns his head, just a fraction. His eyes leave the hole. His mouth opens to speak. He is still tamping, his muscle memory guiding the heavy iron rod. But without his eyes to guide it, the rod scrapes against the side of the drill hole. Iron meets rock. Friction. Heat. A single spark. The physics of the next moment are faster than human thought. The powder at the bottom of the hole ignites. In the confined space of the drill shaft, the expanding gas has nowhere to go but up, and the tamping iron is sitting directly in its path. It ceases to be a tool. It becomes a missile. The 13-pound rod accelerates from 0 to supersonic speeds in a time frame so small it can hardly be measured. It strikes Phineas beneath the left cheekbone. It does not stop. It smashes through the roof of his mouth, obliterates the bone behind his left eye, shears through the frontal lobes of his brain, and punches through the top of his skull. The rod exits his head coated in blood and brain matter, soaring high into the air. Some reports say 50 feet, others say it arcs like a javelin, before landing upright in the dirt nearly 30 yards away. The sound is deafening, a thundercrack that freezes the entire work crew. Silence rushes back into the clearing, heavy and suffocating. The smoke clears. And there, on the ground, lies Phineas Gage. The dust is settling on his boots. His body twitches. By every law of biology, by every medical textbook written in 1848, he should be dead before he hits the ground. His brain is open to the sunlight. But then, the impossible happens. Phineas Gage sits up. The scene that unfolds in the minutes after the explosion is a grotesque tableau of survival that defies logic. Phineas is not just alive, he's conscious. The shock has not claimed him. He's helped to an ox cart, his body battered, his face a ruin of blood and bone, yet he sits upright for the long, jarring ride back to his boarding house. He is a dead man walking, a biological glitch. When the cart arrives at the hotel in Cavendish, he steps down. He walks up the long flight of stairs to his room. He sits on the edge of his bed, the adrenaline perhaps masking the catastrophic damage, or perhaps his brain is simply too shocked to register its own destruction. When the town physician, Dr. Edward Williams, arrives, Phineas turns to him. The blood is pouring onto the floorboards. Phineas looks the doctor in the eye and says with a chilling calmness, "Here is business enough for you." We zoom into the medical reality of 1848. There are no antibiotics, no sterile fields, no understanding of infection.
Dr. John Harlow takes over the case, shaving the scalp, removing fragments of skull from the brain tissue with his fingers. He can see the pulsations of the brain. He can see the cerebral cortex heaving with every beat of Phineas's heart. It is a terrifying intimacy with the seat of the soul. The wound is dressed, but the battle is just beginning. In the weeks that follow, the horror truly sets in. The brain, exposed to the air and the bacteria of a Vermont autumn, begins to swell. A fungus sprouts from the exposed tissue, a literal garden of decay growing from the mind of a living man. Phineas falls into a delirium. His friends buy him a coffin, the doctors prepare the death certificate, but the man refuses to die. His body fights back with a ferocity that stuns the medical community. The swelling subsides, the skin heals over the crater in his skull. He loses the eye, but he keeps his life. Physically, he's a miracle. He walks, he talks, he retains his memories. He knows who he is. But as the physical wounds close, a deeper, invisible wound begins to bleed. The Phineas Gage who returns to the world is not the man who held the tamping iron. The foreman who was once shrewd, energetic, and persistent has vanished. In his place is a man who is fitful, irreverent, and profane. He cannot stick to a plan. He swears at women. He buys things he doesn't need. The internal conflict shifts from the patient to the doctor. Dr. Harlow watches in dismantling horror as he realizes that while he saved the man, the person has been lost. The orbitofrontal cortex, a braking system of the emotional brain, was left in the dust of the railroad track. The engine is running, but the steering wheel is gone.
For over a century, the story of Phineas Gage ended there, a tragedy of a man turned into a monster. Textbooks and psychology lectures painted him as a cautionary tale, a drifting, angry brute who toured with P.T. Barnum's freak show, showing off his hole-filled head in the iron bar until he died alone and miserable. It was a convenient narrative. It fit the Victorian idea that the soul could be broken. But history is often a game of telephone, and the truth about Phineas Gage is far more profound. We zoom in to the Act 3 that most history books conveniently skip, Chile. 4 years after the accident, Phineas leaves the United States. He travels to Valparaiso. He doesn't go to beg or to be a sideshow. He gets a job. And not just any job. He becomes a stagecoach driver on the rugged, dangerous precipices of the Chilean mountains. Consider what this requires. Driving a 6-horse team on narrow, winding roads is a task of immense cognitive load. It requires planning, anticipation, complex motor skills, and social interaction with passengers. It requires executive function, the very thing the accident was supposed to have destroyed. For 7 years, Phineas Gage wakes up early, cares for his horses, manages schedules, and navigates treacherous terrain. He is not a monster. He is a working man. He has adapted. The brain, in its infinite and mysterious plasticity, has rewired itself. The social recovery of Phineas Gage challenges the rigid view that he was permanently broken. This pivots us to his true legacy. Before Gage, the prevailing science was phrenology, the idea that bumps on the skull determined personality. Gage's accident smashed that pseudoscience to pieces. It provided the first hard evidence for cerebral localization, the fact that specific areas of the brain control specific aspects of who we are. His injury proved that biology and personality are inextricably linked, that character is not just a spiritual ether, but a firing of neurons in the frontal lobe. Phineas Gage died in 1860 after a series of seizures, likely caused by the scarring in his brain. But his death was just the beginning. His skull and the iron rods sit today in the Warren Anatomical Museum at Harvard, a silent testament to the moment neuroscience was born. Every time a neurologist looks at an MRI, every time we map a tumor to save a personality, we are walking down the path that was blasted open on a September afternoon in Vermont. The iron bar didn't just split a skull, it opened a door into the human mind that can never be closed again.